Hello guys, welcome to our session today. Today we're going to be going through GCSE Mathematics Paper 1, which was the one that you guys took in your autumn term. And I am going to go through all the questions with you to help you to get full marks from your exam. So bear with it and make sure you take some notes as you're going through this video. Right, starting off with the first question, work out the area of a semicircle of radius 8 centimeters. We all should know that a semicircle is a shape that looks like this, which is half of a circle, and we know if we want to find out the area of a circle, it's going to be area is equal to pi times radius squared, and because it's a semicircle we need to half it, and the question is asking us to find out in terms of pi. So area is equal to pi times 8 squared divided by 2 is what we are doing. So we know that 8 squared is going to be 64, times it with pi is 64 pi, and half of that is going to give us 32 pi centimeters squared. And that's going to get you 2 marks. Next question, expand 3x squared 2x minus 5. So what we are going to be using for this section is we'll be using the arrow method. So 3x squared times 2x, 3 times 2 is 6, x squared times x is going to be x cubed, 3 times 5 is going to be negative 15 because that was a negative 5, and then x squared, there isn't any other term that needs to be multiplied with, so we're just going to write down the x squared there, and that's how we get full marks from this question. Right, question 3 is asking us to solve this equation. We've got x out of 7, which I'm going to write down here. X out of 7 take away 3 is equal to 4. What we need to do for this question is that we need to add 3 to both sides. We're not going to multiply it with 7 because we would only do that if it was everything divided by 7. Okay, if the whole thing was divided by 7, you would be able to times it with 7, but you won't be able to do that here because it is x out of 7 take away 3. So when you add 3 to both sides, it gives you x out of 7 is equal to 7. So something divided by 7 is going to give you 7. We need to times both sides with 7, which is the inverse of division, so that just cancels out. X is going to be 49. Question 4 is a probability question. They're asking us to complete the tree diagram. We need to remember that the 2 branches that are together are going to add to give you 1. So if I've got 1 out of 6, in order for us to end up with 1, this needs to be 5 out of 6, because 1 out of 6 plus 5 out of 6 is going to give you 6 out of 6. That simplifies down to 1. And the same thing repeats over here as there is no replacement. So we've got 1 out of 6, 5 out of 6. So we get 1 for this one. Question 4b, work out the probability that both dice land on 4. So you're looking for 4 and 4. So we know and in probability is times, or is going to be add. So 1 out of 6 and 1 out of 6 is going to be 1 out of 6 times 1 out of 6. That is 1 out of 36. And that's how we get 2 from here. 4c, work out the probability that at least one of the dice does not land on 4. At least one of the dice does not land on 4 would mean that you could have not 4, 4, 4, not 4, not 4, not 4, because of at least one of the dice does not land on 4. So if it says at least, that means I can have not landing on 4 and not landing on 4 again. So I have 2 lots of 1 out of 6 and 5 out of 6, and I have 5 out of 6 and 5 out of 6. Okay, so I have this option or this option. So 1 out of 6 times 5 out of 6 is going to give you 5 out of 36. Double that is going to be 10 out of 36. And I've got 5 out of 6 times 5 out of 6. That will give me 25 out of 36. And both of these will give us 35 out of 36. And this is how we get 2 marks from this question. Okay, question 5. The air pressure in a tire measures 3.2 bars. Air is leaking out at the rate of 0.2 bar per day. Assume that the air continues to leak at the same rate, so every day it's going to be 0.2 bar a day. After how many days the pressure is going to measure 1.8 bar. So we are going from 3.2 bar to 1.8 bar. So let's just find out what the difference of that is. So 3.2 bar take away 1.8 bar is going to be 1.4 bar. So we know that in one day there's 0.2 bar leaking out. So we are trying to go to 1.4. I mean, you can clearly see that it's going to be times it by 7. So that's the scale between them. So 0.2 times 7 is going to give you 1.4. So 1 times 7 is going to be 7. So that means it's going to be 7 days. Then the question says, in fact, the rate that the air leaks out decreases each day. How does this affect your answer to part A? So we need to remember that if the leakage is going to be less each day, because the pressure is decreasing, therefore the leakage is going to be less. That's something that you can just speak to your science teachers about as well. So it's quite scientific. So it will definitely take more days. It will take more days for air to leak and get to that point of 1.4. Okay, for question 6, we have a parallelogram, and what we need to remember about parallelograms is that the opposite angles are going to be the same. So you've got this angle and this angle that is the same, so which means it's going to be 68. The question is telling us that A to B to A to C, which these two lines are the same. So if these two lines are the same, that's an indication that this is going to be an isosceles triangle. So if this is 68, this is 68. So I know if I do 68 plus 68, it's going to give me 136, and if I take 136 away from 180, that is going to be 44. So this section is going to be 44. What I know from here is that this angle and this angle is the same, so they're opposite. So what I could say is 44 plus x is equal to 82. And if I take 44 away from both sides, x is going to be 38. So we have a third and fourth terms of a Fibonacci type sequence. So Fibonacci type sequence is when you add the previous term to find out the next term. So you add the previous term to your number, so you add this to this to find out 47. So something was added on to 30 to give you 47. This would mean that the number before it was, of course, 47 take away 30, so that is 17. So 17, something was added on to 17 to find out 30. So if you were to do 30 take away 17, you will be able to find out that that's going to be 13. So that's how we get 2 marks from this. So this is another question that is linked to our previous question, which is a Fibonacci type sequence, but this is an algebraic one, so we need to think about it algebraically. So something, so this plus this gave us 5. So something was added onto x to give you 5. So that means 5 is definitely in the expression. And in order for us to get rid of the x, we'll have to have a negative x. So if you have x plus 5 minus x, then the x's will cancel out and you will end up with 5. Okay, and that's where the 5 is coming from. In order for us to be able to find out the fourth term, we would have to do 5 plus 5 minus x. So if I do 5 plus 5 minus x, 5 and 5 will give you 10, minus x is 10 minus x. The next one is going to be 5 plus 10 minus x. So 5 plus 10 minus x. So you've got a negative x there. So 10 and 5 is 15 with a negative x. So 15 minus x is your answer. Okay, so we have a Pythagoras theorem here where we need to make some comments about. So we need to pick the correct statement. It says the method will always give an answer which is a whole number. The method will sometimes give an answer which is a whole number, and the method will never give an answer which is a whole number. So that the method is going to give us an answer that is a whole number, because as you can see from the example here, the answer is going to be 4. Square root of 16 is going to give you 4, and that's the distance. I mean, square root of 16 will give you negative and positive 4, but of course we're talking about length here, so we're going to take the positive outcome. So this section is out of our equation, okay? And this is going to be out of our equation as well. The method will always give an answer. That is not the case, because if I was to try something where you will need to write down here as an example, if I was to try something like 7 squared take away 3 squared, 7 squared is 49, take away 3 squared is 9, so that is 40, and you would have to square root 40, and that's going to give you a decimal. So what we are saying is, we are putting the example there to get the extra mark, but what we're saying is it's going to be the method will sometimes give an answer which is a whole number. So this is a speed, distance, time question. So where we have 3 routes and we need to figure out which route is going to take the longest time. So we need to find out the time. So to find out time, we know our formula is speed is equal to distance out of time, and we know time is going to be distance divided by the speed. So to find out the time for route 1, you would need to find out the time that's going to take for route 1, you will need to do distance divided by the speed, which is 30 out of 40, and that is 3 out of 4 of an hour. So we know that 3/4 of an hour, you can just do 3 out of 4 times 60, because in an hour we've got 60 minutes, so that you will be able to find out 45 minutes. For route number 2 is going to be t is equal to 45 out of 50, and 45 out of 50 is going to give us 9 out of 10. You could do 9 out of 10 times 60 and figure out that it's going to be 54 minutes. So we've got 54 minutes for route number 2, and route number 3 is going to be time is equal to 50 divided by 60, so that is 5 out of 6 of an hour. So find out the 5 out of 6 of an hour, we can just times it by 60, and that is going to give us 50 minutes. And by comparison, when you look at these, you can clearly see that route number 2 is going to be the longest time. So we're going to write down route 2. But of course, all these working outs that I'm writing around here should be included on your page. Whether you write it here or around the diagram, it doesn't really matter. And that's how you get 4 marks from this. Right, so question 9b is Samantha and Daniel take the same time to travel from A to B. So they're going from the point A to point B. Samantha is going to be traveling route 1. So they're going from A to B. Samantha is going to be traveling from route 1. So I'm going to write Samantha here. At 10 miles per hour faster than the average speed limit. So that means if I write all this information here separately, right, Samantha's speed right now, the original speed was 40 miles per hour, so it's going to be 50 miles per hour now. And the distance, of course, is not going to change. It's going to be 30 miles. So I'm just going to write down distance is 30 miles. And we've got Daniel. So it says Daniel travels along route 2, so which is this route here. Let me just use a different color for that one. This is Daniel along route 2, but not at the average speed for this route. Okay, So the distance, we know that the distance is going to be, for Daniel, distance is going to be 45 miles anyway. We don't know what the speed is, but the time they travel, when you read the information, it says they take the same amount of time to travel from A to B. So that means whatever the time is for Samantha is going to be the same thing for Daniel. So speed equals distance over time is our formula, and speed is going to be 50, distance is 30, time. We know when we get to this stage, we need to multiply both sides by t and then divide it by 50, which would give us, I'm just going to carry on here, 30 out of 50, okay? Which is, well, the time will simplify down to 3 out of 5 of an hour. So I'm just going to leave it as 3 out of 5 because I can use that in my formula. So if this is 3 out of 5, and I can just do 3 out of 5 because it's the same time, speed for Daniel is going to be distance over time. So we know that if I have 45 divided by 3 out of 5, it's the same thing as this. And remember from your fractions, it needs to be a fraction divided by a fraction. So 45 out of 1 is divided by 3 out of 5, sorry, is going to be 45 out of 1 multiplied with 5 out of 3. This gives us, if I just carry on here, this gives us 225 out of 3, which gives you 75 miles per hour. So that's the speed of Daniel, 75 miles per hour. Does Daniel travel faster or slower than the average speed for route 2, and by how much? So the actual traveling speed is 50 miles per hour. That's the average speed. So if he's traveling at 75 miles an hour, he is definitely traveling faster, okay? And it's going to be 75 take away 50 by 25 miles per hour. And that's how we get full marks from this question. Question 10 is a substituting into a formula, and most of the mistakes I realized with this question is the connection between question 10a and question 10b. Not many of us realized that it was the same question. It was going back to the same formula. So a is equal to x minus 4, x plus 3 out of x, x minus 1. It says, can you work out the value of a when x is going to be negative 1? So to find out the value of a, I will need to write this down so then the examiner can actually see what I'm doing. So I've got, instead of x, I'm going to be writing negative 1 now because I'm substituting negative 1 into x. Divided by negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. Right, negatives and positives are the things that you need to take into account here. Negative 1 take away 4 is going to give you a negative 5. Negative 1 plus 3. I'm going to be adding 3 to negative 1. I will keep these inside the bracket so then I don't forget that it's going to be multiplication. It's going to be 2 divided by negative 1 take away 1 is going to give you, over here, is negative 2. And this negative 1 and negative 2, because negative 1 is outside the bracket, it's going to be a positive 2. So I'm just going to write it down as positive 2. Negative 5 times 2 is going to be negative 10. Divided by 2 is going to be negative 5. So that's my answer. So we get 2 marks for this one. 10b, when x is in between 2 and 4, can you circle what your answer is going to be for a? So again, it's the same thing. You're going to take the value from here and substitute it in there. So number in between 2 and 4, I'm going to be using 3. I'm using an integer, okay? Now, a in this case is going to be 3 take away 4, 3 plus 3, out of 3, 3 take away 1. 3 take away 4 is going to give you negative 1. 3 and 3 is going to give you 6. 3 take away 1 is 2 times it by 3 is going to give you 6. So you've got negative 6. Negative 1 multiplied by a positive 6 is going to give you negative 6. Divided by 6 is going to be negative 1. So your answer is going to be negative. So that's how you get 1 mark from this. For question 11, they're asking us to estimate the value of the given calculation. So we need to remember that when we're estimating, we need to round the number to one significant figure. So when you're rounding the number to one significant figure, you will need to look at the first significant figure, which is 1. The second significant figure is 9, and 9 rounds 1 to 2. So that's going to be 20 squared, plus 30 to one significant figure is 30 again. 104 to one significant figure is 100. So 20 squared is 400, plus 30 times square root of 100 is 10. So you've got 400 plus 300. The final answer is going to be 700. And that's how we get 3 marks from this question. Okay, Christopher buys a fridge from a shop for £259. The cost of delivery is proportional to the distance from the shop. For a journey of 8 miles, the cost is £20. So for every 8 miles, the cost is going to be £20 for the delivery. We know that Christopher lives 14 miles away from the shop. Okay, so we need to find out how much he needs to pay for 14 miles. There are 2 options for you here. You can go down to 1 mile by dividing both sides by 8, or I would prefer to go down to 2, to be honest with you, and then it will be easier for me to times it by 7. So if I divide both sides by 4, that's going to be 2 miles, and this is going to be £5. Then going back up, it's going to be times it by 7 to find out what 14 miles is going to cost you, and that's going to be £35. So for 14 miles, he needs to pay £35. For the product that he's buying, it's going to be £259. So in total, the payment is going to be £259 and 35 pounds. Okay, so that's 14, 9. He's paying £294 in total, and no, he is not going to pay more than £300. And that's how we get full marks from this question. Right, question 13 was a tricky one for some of us, but it was more about, for me, when I look at this question, I see it as a visualizing question. So you need to be able to visualize what's going on. So a kite is going to, first of all, look something like this, okay? But for this question, the only issue here is that the diagonal line that they are talking to you about is this section here. This is the diagonal line. Taking that into account, you should be able to see, or visualize at least, that your kite is going to look something like this. Okay, with the diagonal line you've got, it's even slightly tilted to one side. So what it says to me is there are some information that I actually just need to put on the diagram, and that's just going to make more sense for me. So I know that A is going to be 1, 1, so this section is going to be A, and C is going to be 3, 5. 3 on the x-axis, 5 on the y-axis is going to be C. Okay, and the section in the middle is called M, so that's the midpoint. So it says A to M to B to M is equal. A to M is and B to M is equal. So the distance from, so if I just show it to you here, this is what we're saying is this is A, this is C, and the shape is A, B, C, D. So it's going to be A, B, C, D. Okay. Now, if A to M is equal to, this is M. If A to M is equal to M to B, can you see these two perpendicular lines? So for me to go to M from, let me just use a different color, from A, it's 1 along, 2 up. I'm going to have to do the perpendicular of this. So it's 1 along, 2 up. So it's going to be you'll flip this around. 2, 1. Okay, so you're going 2 to the right, 1 down. It's going to be here. Okay, so I'm taking this and using it here because I know it's a kite. Now, when I draw this, it's going to look something like this. Then B to M to M to D. B to M to M to D is 1 to 2. So you can see that when you are going from B to M, if I just use a different color, you will have 1, 2 along, 1 up from here. Okay, you're going from B to M. And from M to D is going to be twice as that. So that means the distance between them is going to be, instead of 2 along, it's going to be 4 along. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And we went 1 up. What we are going to do is we are going to go 2 up. 1, 2, because the ratio is 1 to 2. It's going to be double the amount. Okay. So this is what our kite is going to look like. And this is how we get full marks from this question. Right, x to y is the vector 1, 3 on the square grid, which we can see here. Write down a vector that is the same size as x to y and perpendicular to x to y. So perpendicular means a line that cuts through at 90 degrees. So since we have our line like this, the perpendicular line is going to go this way. So that means we are going to have a line let me just try and draw this going that way. Okay, so it could be this, for example, that you can use. So that's going to be 1 down, 3 along. So that's going to be, or it could be going the other way around, really. It could be facing the other way around. That would mean that it's going to be -3 and +1. There you go. That's how we get 2 marks from this. Okay, work out the value of 8 to the power of -1 out of 3. If I just don't even think about the negative at the moment, this is the same thing as cube root of 8, because 8 to the power of a third is the same thing as cube root of 8. Okay, when there is a negative, that is a reciprocal of what you have, what you are given in the question. So that's going to be 1 out of cube root of 8, which is 1 out of 2. There you go. Okay, so for question 15, the graph of y equals 2x is shown. So we have y equals 2x. I'm just going to quickly label this. We've got y equals 2x. And by drawing the graph y equals 2x squared minus 1, so they want us to draw y equals 2x squared minus 1 to work out the approximate solutions. Okay, right. The approximate solutions are going to be where the line is going to be intersecting with the other graphs. So 2 graphs are going to be intersecting at a point, so we're just going to be finding out the approximate solutions for 2x squared take away 1 is equal to 2x. So we're finding the x values. So it's going to be, we need to be able to draw a table, complete and sketch. The x-axis is starting from -2, so that's going to be -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 35. Substitute -2 into this. It's going to be -2 squared is 4, times it with 2 is 8, take away 1 is 7. -1 squared is 1, times it with 2 is 2, take away 1 is 1. If I substitute 0 in here, it's just going to be giving me the y-intercept. This is 1 again, and that's 7. So I've got -2 and 7 I will plot it. -1 and 1, 0 and -1, 1 and 1, and 2 and 7. If I use a different color here to just show you guys how the sketch is going to be like. I'm doing a dotted line because it's sometimes difficult to just do it on this pad. So we are going here. So the 2 points that are intersecting here is there. The x-axis is here. And your x-axis is like around here somewhere. So that's like 1.4-ish. There's a range. And what have I got? The x-axis here is around, if this is 0.5, it's around like negative, it's in between negative 0.2 and 0.4-ish, negative 0.3, 0.4, around there. I'm going to write negative 0.4. And that's how you get full marks from this question. Okay, this is something that you guys need to remember all the time. Whenever you've got a cosine and sine graph, you know, the graph of sin is going to start from 0. Graph of cos is going to start from 1. Which one is starting from 1? This one here. That's my answer. That's how we get full marks. Right, for question 17, they're asking us to expand and simplify. We know that it is going to be squaring this bracket, which means we'll write it down again like this and then expand the bracket. I'm going to be using the arrow method, so I'm going to be doing root 3 times root 3, that's going to give you root 9. Root 3 times 2 is going to give you 2 root 3. 2 times root 3 is going to give you 2 root 3 again. 2 times 2 is going to be 4. Root 9 is going to be 3. 2 root 3 plus 2 root 3. It's like collecting like terms. It's going to be 4 lots of root 3 we've got now. And then plus the 4. In the end, 3 plus 4 is going to give you 7 plus 4 root 3. Okay, and that's going to be your final answer. Well, the next question, this is recurring decimal, where we are going to be converting into a fraction. I'm going to start writing from up here so I have some space. So we know x is going to be equal to 0.35 recurring. The whole point of us is to just try and make sure that this recurring decimal place is on the left hand side of your decimal point, so that when you subtract them you will be able to just eliminate and just simplify. So let's have a look at this. If I times this by 10, it's going to be 3.5 recurring. I'm going to have to times it by 10 again. So this 10x is going to be multiplied by 10 again. So that's going to give you 100x is equal to 35.5 recurring. So if I was to take them away now, if I subtract these, it's going to cancel out the recurring 5. So that's going to be 90x is equal to 35 take away 3 is going to be 32. X is going to be 32 out of 90, 16 out of 45. And I guess if you can just simplify it even further, then for any other question you will be able to do it. Okay, and this is how you get full marks for this one. Just circle the 3. There you go. Okay, question 19. The diagram shows a triangle ABE and a rectangle BCDE. B to C is 4 centimeters shorter than B to E. So we don't know what B to E is anyway. So if I just call B to E to be X, I should be able to write down B to C to be X minus 4. So we're just going to be taking 4 away from it because it's 4 centimeters shorter. It says to us that the area of ABE, which is the triangle, is the same as the area of BCDE, and they want us to work out the length of B to E. I can see that, well, when you're trying to find out the area of a triangle, you would need to do base times height divided by 2, right? But for this question, there is no right angle. There isn't a right angle that you can use the height from, or there is no height given to you. So this would mean that we're going to have to use half times A times B times sin C for area of a triangle. Okay, this indicates that I will have to use the exact trig value triangle because I'm going to have to use sin 30 at some point. So this would mean it's going to be 1 root 3, 2, this is 60, this is 30. So I will use half times x times 12 times sin 30. Sin 30, I go to 30 degrees, here's my Pac-Man. Sin is SAR, opposite divided by the hypotenuse, so the opposite is 1, hypotenuse is 2, so it's going to be half. So it's half times x times 12 times half. 1 times x times 12 times 1 is going, because you need to remember these are all like out of 1. 1 times x times 12 times 1 is going to give you 12x, and it's going to be divided by 4, which is 3x when simplified. So this is 3x centimeter squared as an area, okay? And if I wanted to find out the area of this rectangle, I would have to do x times x minus 4. This is the same thing as this is what the question is saying. This would mean that what I could do is, instead of expanding the bracket and just putting myself in a very difficult situation, I could simply divide both sides with x, which will allow me to get rid of this x and that x there. So now I have x minus 4 is equal to 3, add 4, simplified, x is 7. So we found the length to be 7 centimeters, okay? And that's how I get full marks from this question. Question 20, the histogram shows information about the time some children took to complete a puzzle, okay? Estimate the number of children who took less than 85 seconds to complete the puzzle. So we are looking at less than 85, which is this side here. Okay, we should all remember that if we're trying to estimate the frequency from a given histogram, we need to find out the area of each section. So the area of the first one is going to be 30. So from 40 to 70 is 30. So that's going to be 30 times, and this section here is 0.3. 30 times 0.3 is going to give us 9. Next section is 70 to 80 is 10. 10 times 0.6 is 6. And for this little slice here, I've got 5 times 1, which is 5. So in total, I have 9 plus 6 plus 5 students. So that's going to be 20 in total. And that's how you get full mark from this question. Okay, question 21 is asking us to work out the value of 7 out of root 5. And then we've got a mixed number here. Okay, so they want us to give the answer in the form of a root 5 out of b. So that would mean that everything that's got a square root sign should be written down with the root 5. So let's have a look at this. 7 out of root 5. If I rationalize this, it's going to give me 7 root 5 out of 5. Okay, so I've got 7 root 5 out of 5. For 2 out of 9 square rooted, I'm just going to write it down as an improper fraction first. 9 times 2 is 18, 19, 20. 20 out of 9 square rooted is the same thing as root 20 out of root 9. I know root 9 is going to be 3. Root 20, going back to my question, because it's asking me to write it as something root 5, I'm going to think about simplifying the surd. So it's going to be root 4 times root 5. Because the only thing that you can times with root 5 is going to be root 4 to give you root 20. 4 is going to be, square root of 4 is 2. So I can just write it down as 2 root 5. So I've got, take away 2 root 5 out of 3. At this stage, this is a fraction that I'm dealing with. So I need to make sure that my denominators are the same. 3 times 7 is going to be 21. 21 root 5 out of 15. Take away 5 times 10, root 5 out of 15. Okay, so we've got 11 root 5 out of 15 as our final answer. 21 take away 10 is 11. Denominator stays the same. So this is how we get full marks from this question. Question 22. We've got a Venn diagram in front of us. There are 350 students in a college. B represents the students who takes biology. C represents the students who takes chemistry. The question for 22A is work out the probability that the student takes biology. So that means this section here, and it's talking about out of everyone in the college. So that is going to be 34 plus 22 out of 350. That would give us 56 out of 350. For the second question, one student who takes chemistry is chosen at random. So we are talking about the probability being taken from this circle here. Okay, one student is going to be taken from there, so that means your probability is going to be out of 22 plus 13, so that's 35. Work out the probability that the student also takes biology, so that's going to be student who also takes biology, so that's going to be 22 out of 35. And that's how we get full marks from this question. Okay, question 22C. We've got a Venn diagram in front of us. There are 350 students, and this is IT is representing students who take IT, BS is representing students who take business studies. The number of students who take IT and business studies is half the number who take IT only. Okay, so the number of students who take IT and business, which is X, is half the number of the students who take IT only. So that means this is half of what should be here. So this would mean that the IT section is going to be 2x. So that's done. Let's have a look at the next section. It says the number who take business studies is double the number who take IT. Students who take IT in total is actually 3x, which is this circle here, because it involves those students who are actually taking business studies as well, because they're also taking IT. So students who take IT in total is going to be 3x, and if the business studies is going to be double the amount of that, so that would mean we times it by 2, and that's going to give us 6x. If business studies section is going to be 6x, I've already got x in the middle, so that would mean that I need to do 6x take away x, so this section is going to be 5x. Okay, the question is asking us to find, okay, work out the value of x. If they're asking us to work out the value of x, with all the information I've got in front of me right now, I will be able to add 2x, x, 5x, 206 and equate it to 350. And that will help me to find out what x is going to be. So if I write down, first of all, I need to form an equation, and it needs to be 2x plus x plus 5x plus 206 is going to be 350, because there are 350 students. We'll collect the like terms. That's going to be 8x plus 206 is equal to 350. So what we need to do is we now need to show the examiner that we are solving this equation, because we want to get full marks from it. So that would mean we'll need to take 206 away from both sides. And if I do take away 206, take away 206, my 8x is going to be, so that simplifies, 10, 4, 144. So if 8x is equal to 144 divided by 8, it's going to be 18 for x. And that's how we get full marks from this. Okay, so we've got question 23, which is the final question on this paper. And once you finish this question as well, then you will see how you can get full marks from the paper and get 80 out of 80. So A and B are points on the circle with equation x squared plus y squared equals 100. A is a point, you've got 6, 8, x is 6, y is 8. B is a point on the y-axis. PA and PB are tangents. Okay, so if PA and PB are tangents, then that means it's going to be equal to each other, because tangents from an external point are equal in length. So these two are tangents, tangents and equal, yeah. So show that the coordinates of B are 0, negative 10. Okay, so this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis. This means that you could simply substitute it in here to show that it's going to be the coordinates. So it's x squared plus y squared is equal to 100. So 0 squared plus negative 10 squared is equal to 100. And yeah, it is equal to that. Radius of a circle is 10 then. So we've got 100 is equal to 100. Yeah, so it is. Next question, give a reason why PA to PB. Oh, I already talked about this then. Because tangents from an external point are equal or are equal in length. And that's how you get full marks. Thank you for watching this, guys. Have a good day.